Hello. This is a PS Vita and this is a Friday Talkie. It's been a long time, and why the hell am I doing one now? Well, because of this, because I was just going to do a system review and then it occurred to me that the things I want to say about this and how I come to have it and why I come to have it are a lot more involved than just what I would end up saying in a system review. So it's Friday Talkie. I guess the first question is, why is me even having this a talking point? Why is it a subject for me to sit and go blah about? Mainly because I've always said I wasn't going to buy one of these. I think they're technically impressive, but there aren't enough quality games for it, and it didn't seem like a good value purchase. So for all the time that these were available, I didn't buy one. To my mind, there was no Gran Turismo on it, so there was no point. So I didn't buy one. So what changed? Well, there are three circumstances that brought me to buy that thing. The first was about, I don't know, a month ago, something like that, a few weeks ago. I saw a video by Retro Game Core explaining how easy it now was to jailbreak these things, and once they're jailbroken you can run homebrew on them, you can run emulators on them, you can run converted games from other systems like Android or PC games if they've been converted. You can be very naughty and run downloaded backups. Yes, that's what we're calling them. Which is all very interesting, and you know me, I like to tinker with handhelds and make them do things they weren't necessarily originally intended to do. So there was that. I mean, it's been possible to jailbreak the Vita for ages, but it was not an easy thing to do. I watched a video on it some months ago and thought, I can't be bothered with all that. And then I saw this video by Retro Game Core and I thought, no, that's easy, I can do that. And it is easy, and I'll leave a link to it down there somewhere, so if you want to jailbreak a Vita, you'll see how to do it. Another thing that got me interested in the Vita was Vita, what the hell's it called? The emulator that I ran quite recently, I've forgotten what it's called, Vita 3K, is it called? Something like that. For Android, that I run on my GPD XP Plus, and I did have running on my RG353M for a little while. That stopped working for reasons, well, no, it didn't stop working, it stopped responding to the controls. Don't know why. Need to see if there's an update of that. But anyway, the quality of the games impressed me in the sense that the ones that ran, and not many run on that emulator, they just look good. I was like, okay, this is cool. I would like to play more of these. And since the emulator only ran a few, the solution to that was, well, get a Vita, and then you can run all the games. So that was in my head. That was like, okay, this is a possibility. This is something to consider. Not a definite, I'm gonna get one, just the thought was there. Anyway, with all that in mind, I went into town last week to buy a PSVR 2, the PlayStation Virtual Reality Headset 2. I've had a PSVR 1. They're not great. I thought, initially I thought, okay, this is cool, and then I stopped playing it because I realised, oh, actually it's not that great of a thing. I love VR, but I use a Quest 2 hooked up to a gaming PC to do that. But when the PSVR 2 came out, or was like being announced, and the specs and what it can do and everything, and the more I've seen about it, I'm like, I want one of them, that's cool. So the day came out that it was released, and I thought, okay, I'll go to Game, I'll buy one there. Nope, Game haven't got them. Went to Curry's PC World. Nope, they haven't got them. on talking to a member of staff, actually it was a kind of game, no high street retailers are carrying them, because when the PSVR 1 came out, loads of people paid money to pre-order them, and then when the day came of release, Sony didn't give them enough stock. They couldn't cover pre-orders. Lots of people had paid their money and got nothing. They had to wait longer, much longer, and lots of people were unhappy. The retailers were unhappy, so when PSVR 2 comes along, they said, sorry about that interruption, neighbour, no problem. Yes, the retailers said to Sony, can you guarantee us adequate stocks of the PSVR 2 so that we don't have the same debacle as last time? And Sony were like, no, we can't guarantee it. So all the retailers have said, nope, we're not carrying it. We will not sell it until you can give us adequate stocks. We're not taking pre-orders. Basically, get stuffed, Sony. You can't get it from Amazon. The only way to buy it is from Sony's online, the PlayStation Store, wherever, I don't know, the website, and have it delivered to you. And delivery times are not long. But for me, that's a major issue. It's why I don't... There are those who are like, shouldn't use Amazon, they're evil. And yes, they are. They treat their staff very badly. They treat their delivery drivers very badly. Agreed, no argument. But if I order something online, I've got a 3-day window where I'm in. And if it can't be guaranteed to arrive within those 3 days, I'm not ordering it. And with the PSVR, that can't be guaranteed, so I won't order it from them. If I'm not in, it's going to go to one of my neighbours. No, you know, I don't mind. This is what the guy was. This is what my was a housemate was knocking on my door for. It's a case for the Vita. I'll order something like that, a few pounds, and not worry if I'm not in, because it's a few pounds. But I'm not ordering a 500 and God knows what pound headset that's going to arrive possibly when I'm not in and go to my neighbours or who knows where. No, I've either got to be able to walk into a shop or be guaranteed it's going to arrive within this 3-day time frame. Currently Sony can't do that, so they can just get stuffed. I think they're missing a trick. They should at least be shipping them to Amazon. If not, you know, guarantee some stocks to stores. Having it online only, big mistake. And it's going to harm sales, and I see it going badly because sales won't be high. Developers may potentially say, okay, we're not going to support this because sales aren't high enough. And a lot of initial sales will not be high because there will be people like me. If you can't just walk in there, and if you can't do an impulse buy, or have it arrive next day, or within 2 days, something like that. If it can't arrive quickly or at a guaranteed time, people aren't going to buy it. Sales will be poor. Developers will walk away from it. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but it seems like a risk, and a risk that is not necessary. Anyway, so I went into town, I tried to buy one, I couldn't buy one. But I'm the kind of person that if I've got it in my head that I'm going to buy something of a certain kind of thing. Good example of this, I'm straying from the point. About a month ago I had it in my head I was going to buy an Alfa Romeo Mito because I'd found one for sale locally within my price range, and I phoned up the guy, and for reasons that we won't go into, I decided I'm not going to buy that. I don't think it's a safe bet. But then I got it in my head, okay, well, I'm in car buying mode now, so I went and bought a Fiat Panda. It's a more recent one than the one I had been driving. It's much nicer, it's a bit quicker, it's got a really bloody annoying feature. Anti-stall, it's bullshit, that's another story, we won't even go into that here. But yes, that's the thing. I get it in my head, I'm going to buy a certain kind of thing, and if I can't buy the one I originally thought, I go and buy something else, just to scratch that itch. Well, my itch on this day in question was I was going to buy a piece of gaming technology. Couldn't buy a PSVR 2, so I just walked round town, went into CEX, because that's always part of my... I do like a lap of the town, and CEX is usually the second stop after game. And they'd got a Vita in the window. Actually, they'd got two. Not in the window, in the display case, but anyway. They'd got two. One was for like £95. It looked to be in pretty decent condition. Maybe a little bit grubby. May have been some minor scratches, not really sure. And they'd got one for £140 that was immaculate, as new. I mean, it's got fingerprints all over it now. These things are a real fingerprint magnet. It's the OLED version, but immaculate, and 2-year warranty. Now invalidated because I've put custom firmware on it. But anyway, so I bought it and took it home and jailbroke it. So what do I think of it? Okay, first of all, I'm not going to do a full review of this. Vitas have been around for a long while. You know what they're like, and if you don't, why on earth not? The first thing that I find interesting about this is it doesn't weigh as much as I thought it would. They say this is the heavy version, this is the fat one. Oh, look at that, you can see the reflection. Anyway, it's after playing things like the RG353M and basically any of the Anbernic metal handhelds, this thing is quite light in comparison. It is a lot like the PSP Go in terms of construction and style. It's shiny, it's got fake metal, it's plastic but it looks like aluminium. There might even be some aluminium on here actually, that feels like it. It's very, very, I think the term sometimes used is jewel-like. The attention to detail is immense. The D-pad is the best D-pad you'll get on any controller, handheld, whatever. It's the same as the one on the PSP Go, which I always liked. The analog sticks are really nice. Mostly I find analog sticks to be too small, not sensitive enough, or too twitchy. All or nothing. These are not quite all or nothing. They have a bit of, well, travel is not huge. Like I say, they're not like... I find most analog sticks are just like a D-pad. It's just literally on or off. I know they're not, but there's so little travel on them that it's hard to be sensitive with them. These, there's a bit more room for finessing your control, shall we say. Touch screen, touch thing, I don't know what you'd call that, pad on the back. OLED screen is gorgeous. Why aren't I turning it on? I'll turn it on in a bit. I'll show you some gameplay from a few games, 2 or 3, just to show you how nice it looks rather than in-depth detail. If you want to see how to install, jailbreak, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. If you want to see how to jailbreak one of these, I'll put a link down to Retro Game Core's video down there. It is a very good video that explains quickly, clearly, concisely, accurately how to do it. You have to pay attention to what he's saying and do exactly what he says. I thought I was doing that and then realised I actually hadn't at one point, where he'd said push the D-pad down once after you got onto a certain screen. I forgot to do that bit, and so that part of the installation of something or other didn't work and I had to do it again. But what he says is bang on accurate. You just got to pay attention. So I'll show you some gameplay now, and then we'll come back and I will talk about what I actually think of this. Okay, Let me turn the volume of that down. This is Wipeout 2048 on the Vita, obviously. It is gorgeous. Initially I thought, oh, the frame rate's not very good, but then I realised it's not actually that the frame rate isn't good, it's all these stripy bits that go by at the side in the way that they do, that were tricking my brain into thinking, oh, that's kind of jerky. But it's not. There might have just been a little bit of screen tear just then. Yes, there is. There's screen tear. So, the thing with this, I think they've tried a little bit too hard. They're trying as really, really hard to make it look like the PS3 version of the game. And they're sort of achieving it. It is gorgeous. It does look notably better than Wipeout Pure or Wipeout Pulse on the PSP. But it is having performance issues that you don't necessarily get on those. I think maybe the frame rate on those gets a bit iffy in places. So, do you know, I've not noticed the screen tearing before now. But there is one aspect of this. Well, I love the game. I mean, I'm playing the Wipeout HD DLC on here, because you can get, well, there's the basic Wipeout 2048, and then as DLC you can get Wipeout HD and Wipeout Fury, all of which combined is basically what you get in the Wipeout Omega collection on PS4, which I have got and paid for, which is why I feel no qualms about playing this. I have an issue with this. It is that the accelerate button, the power button, the go faster button, is not the X button. It is R1. It is the right trigger button. And I don't like where the hinge is on that. I'm finding holding my finger on that trigger really uncomfortable, and the longer I play, the more difficult it is to hold down, and I don't like that. So, while I think this is a gorgeous game, I'm only ever going to play it in short bursts because I'm old. I won't say I've got arthritis yet, but I'm getting there. My joints they scream for mercy after a little while, and having to hold that button down for that long is quite painful until it reaches a point that I just can't do it. My hand will start cramping and twitching, and it just makes it impossible to play. That's what happens after playing video games for 50 years. You fall apart. This is, it has a weird name, Soldner X2. You may, if you've been watching this channel for a very long time, recall I did a video of this on the PS3 way back when. I really liked it on the PS3, and I like it on here. It's like a visually very pretty horizontally scrolling shooter that, while it looks very dramatic and stuff, is not all that difficult. It's easy enough for me to play and not die instantly, and there aren't many games that are like that. What the hell is that all about? My eyes, I can't read. I can't read the text. I would have to hold it close to my face and peer over my glasses, where at the moment I'm sitting and playing with reading glasses. Yeah, this is an enjoyable game. It's, in terms of intensity, it's more like an old 8-bit arcade game, like from the Scramble era, in that I can play it and not die instantly, where an actual full-on bullet hell, I have no chance. I just can't play that kind of game. My brain doesn't work fast enough, my eyes don't work fast enough, and that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I don't know, it doesn't, I can't see quick enough to react to it. I mean, I'm sure it's not actually my eyes, it's my visual cortex is whoops. Yeah, that, pretty much, my visual cortex is whoops. covers it quite adequately. Have I got other buttons? Oh, yeah, okay, that did something, didn't it? Give me all of those. Give me that. It does more the further you get in. You get other weapons, if I remember rightly. Can't remember. And I was looking at the wrong thing then. It's a fun game. And I do find that the 2D games on here, you don't get frame rate issues like you do on the 3D games, which makes it really, really good. The 2D games on here are absolutely bloody gorgeous. And the frame rate is great. You don't have the performance issues that you get, so that it's not struggling whilst looking amazing. So it's very good at this kind of thing. Okay, this is Rayman Legends. Straight away, very first thing, tap the screen. And okay, you can't see it from here, but it being a very, very shiny thing, fingerprints all over the screen already. And if you've played touchscreen systems, you know, if the light's catching it wrong, it can be distracting. If you've got a fingerprint right slap bang in the middle of, I don't know if I want to be doing that to them or not, but hey ho. Yeah, it can be distracting to have fingerprints on the screen. But that aside, visually, this is gorgeous. I have never seen a 2D platform game look this gorgeous. There's a thing here. I can't remember. That's it. It is gorgeous, but it is, after this level, it's ruined. In fact, even on this level, I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to be tapping the screen to make progress. What am I doing? Oh, I see. Yeah. Do not want... I'm not controlling him at all now. I'm just assisting him while he plays the game himself. And that for me is not how I like to play video games. So I'm stopping right there. Okay, through the power of editing, I haven't actually recorded the gameplay that you just watched. So I don't know what games I played. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. You now know what the games look like on this and how they play. So, what do I think of the PS Vita? Honest answer, I am torn. And partly it's down to the Vita itself, or rather it's down to the support or lack of support that it received when it was a current piece of kit. And partly it's down to me and where I'm at in terms of gaming at the moment, because I'm not going to call it a crisis, but it ain't far off that. And what the hell does that mean? I've got too many games that I cannot commit to a big game, a AAA title that needs like 100 hours. I've got so many games and so little time because I work 4 days a week and I have a girlfriend, we spend time together, and I have other hobbies, and so time committed to gaming is not as great as it once was. And so I find myself, when I decide, okay, I'm going to play video games now, a game has to absolutely blow me away, completely engross me and hold my attention. And if it doesn't do that, I will turn it off and try another game and see if that scratches the gaming itch. And very often a huge game just isn't going to do that these days. It's like there's the learning curve, there's the getting through the tutorial section several hours before you're into the meat of the game, so to speak, where things start happening and being good. And in some games you could be like 20 hours before it actually gets interesting. Well, I'm sorry, but if it's not grabbing me within half an hour or even 20 minutes, I'm like, I ain't got time for this, and I'll move on. Which is, that's on me. That is me that is failing to get into a big AAA title because I feel constrained for time. But it also means if I try a AAA game on here, it's not going to blow me away because I've got a PS5. Okay, it's playing a retro video game at the moment. You know, I can play games that are visually amazing and have a depth of storyline and all of that makes me go wow, and playing something on here just ain't gonna do that. Not a AAA, which leaves the like smaller platformy games, which are actually, there are some on here that are very, very pretty. Rayman, I played that for the first time on here yesterday, and I played for 15 minutes. It is the most gorgeous platform game I have ever seen. No two ways about it. It's amazing. But I got off, was it the first level? I'm not sure. And the next bit, I was playing a different character. I have no idea who he is. And all of a sudden, there's stuff coming up on the screen saying, touch here, press here, tap here, swipe here. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that shit. I want to use me joystick or me D-pad and push me buttons. I don't want to touch the screen to control anything. So for me, that ruined it. And I didn't want to play it. You know, 15 minutes and I was done because of what was across, it was quick time events on a touch screen. That's what it was. I hate quick time events. I hate games that use the touch screen. When you combine quick time events with a touch screen just because you can, it's like, hey, let's do something different. No one's done this before. Bollocks. I don't want to play a video game like that. I want to play a video game the way I've always played video games, the way I've played video games for the past 50 bloody years. Yes, it is 50 years. Holy crap. Alright, the first ones were electromechanicals, not actually video games, but that's neither here nor there. I've been gaming for 50 years. Touchscreen, QuickTime events, get stuffed, not playing. So, there is that. There is the, I can't get into the AAA titles because they're not going to blow me away. Jesus Christ. They're not going to blow me away the way a PS5 will. And that's stupid. That's not a realistic expectation. But I can't commit that much time to something that isn't going to super mega impress me. And many of the smaller titles are just full of gimmicks. It's like, that's partly why I don't play Nintendo and I don't play the Switch. I don't care for gimmicks. But there's something else. There just aren't enough titles. There aren't enough AAA titles. I didn't buy this back in the day because, literally, because it didn't have Gran Turismo. I was like, why would I buy a PlayStation handheld that hasn't got Gran Turismo on it? God knows Gran Turismo PSP was weak enough, but at least it had something. This had nothing at all. I was like, they're not taking this seriously. It's a very expensive piece of kit. I paid 140 quid for it, and it's what, 10 years old, second hand. These are expensive, they were expensive at the time, and it always seemed like Sony were not taking them seriously. They just couldn't be bothered. And that really turned out to be true, because now, having gone through and looked at pretty much every single game that's available for it, AAA titles I've got on here now, half a dozen maybe. That's just not good enough. There's lots of indie titles on here and smaller games, and some of them are impressive, some of them are cool, but for an expensive piece of hardware, that was piss poor. And I absolutely stand by my decision back when this was current to not buy one. I was absolutely right to not buy one. What about now? Sony they were going to shut down the Vita store. They relented after a big outcry that they were going to shut down the PSP store, the PS3 store and the Vita store. They've shut down the PSP store now. Not unreasonable given the age of the thing. They've kept the Vita store open, they've kept the PS3 store open. So you can still legitimately buy and download games for this. Finding actual games on physical cartridge, I think the prices of them are going quite high. But you can buy them through the store at a not unreasonable price, I guess. So you can buy these second hand for 100 to 140. I don't think there'll be many selling for more than what I paid for this. You can get them without breaking the bank, and you can jailbreak them. You can run emulators on them. Should you run emulators on them? Are they any good for that? I'm going to show you some videos now of what this thing is like running a couple of emulators. So, emulators. We've got a Mega Drive emulator here. It works just fine. I'm not even going to go there with it. You know what an emulated Mega Drive looks like. This Adrenaline, that runs PSP and PS1 games. It works just fine. You know what those games look like. I don't need to go there and demonstrate that. GBA. You know what GBA games look like, or should look like. You know what Mario Super Circuit looks like, or should look like, because I play it on every Game Boy Advance emulator that I ever use. So, let's turn up the volume. And that is terrible. And I'm shocked. I mean, I know the Vita is not as powerful as current Android systems, but I thought it could do better than this, and I'm gobsmacked that it can't. Whoops. I'm looking for the button. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's enough. I would not play that. If I was out, sitting in a hotel waiting room, as I seem to do quite often these days, not hotel, hospital, what am I saying? If I was sitting in a hospital waiting room, and I wanted to play some retro games, and I had this with me, I would not play Game Boy Advance on the Vita. It's poor. Okay, also through the joys of editing, I haven't actually recorded the footage that you just watched. But I do know what ones I'm going to show you. I haven't shown you any Dreamcast, I haven't shown any N64, I haven't shown any SNES. I don't trust that the Dreamcast or the N64 will even run adequately well on this to be worth bothering with. Mega Drive and Mega CD run just fine. Worth running on here, no problem. Game Boy Advance, I was quite surprised and, let's be honest, appalled at how poor the emulation was. Mostly down to the sound, but slow down as well. Mario Kart, Super Circuit is a game, it's my go-to game. I don't know how well anything else runs on it, but that ran appallingly, and just makes it like, nope, I ain't even bothering with that emulator, it's shite. Honestly, I would not recommend. It's like, I've got all these Chinese handhelds, you'll have seen me do videos of those, and they can emulate stuff really well. You can get a cheap £60 handheld, the, what's it called, RG35XX, RG30XX, the new little Anbernic thing. 60 quid, and it will emulate 8-bit and 16-bit handheld consoles really well. Better than this thing does, honestly. So you don't buy one of these to run emulators. It's just not good. I was surprised. I thought it would do better than that. But yeah, so it's not an emulation machine. What this is, it's either a way of, I don't know, legitimately playing games that you've paid for and downloaded or obtained cartridges for, and you can get yourself a limited library, and it depends how big of a Vita memory card you stick in the thing, because it's, how easy are they to get now? They were stupidly expensive for very small capacities. So you can use this legitimately and legally, and have a small library of okay games, or you can jailbreak it, put in one of these SD to Vita cards where you put a micro SD card into an adapter card that goes into where the normal game cards go, and you can download a shit ton of games that you haven't paid for and play them on here and have a huge, well, a big library of games, some of which are quite good, not many AAAs because there aren't many. It's a moral quandary, because one of those is worth the money and one of those probably isn't. The short answer is, this is a good piece of hardware if you don't mind pirating software. That's, I have trouble actually even saying that. I am of the view that if I download a game that is legally available and I download it for free, I'm going to try it. If it's good and I'm going to play it a lot, then I'm going to pay for it. You can't, once this is jailbroken, as far as I can tell, then download it and pay for it. But I've got a PlayStation TV which runs Vita games, so if I play a game on here a lot and I want to have a clear conscience, I'm going to pay for that game on the PlayStation Store and put it on my PlayStation TV. Because I have a conscience, I care about things like that. The moment Sony take away the facility to pay for things like that, well then, as far as I'm concerned, everything is fair game and I just will not care. I take that view with many systems that are no longer current, and you can't buy legitimately the games where the money will go to the developer. There are lots like that, so download the ROMs, why not? But at the moment, yes, it's a moral quandary, how you treat this. Personally, I'm treating this as something to make a video of. It's kind of what I do these days. I don't spend much time gaming unless I'm making videos. My enjoyment of handhelds, and I have many of them, is not actually playing on them. It's the setting them up. It's the setting up all the emulators and seeing how well can I make this work? How many systems can I run on this? Can I make it do what it was never designed to do? Or play better than it played coming from the factory, because most of them you can make them run better than when they came from the factory. And this, it's like the pleasure was in jailbreaking it, in seeing what can you do, in seeing how many games can you get on here, how good are they. This will also, in jailbroken form, it will play PSP and PS1 games, which I think it could do as standard anyway, but in jailbroken form you actually have to run an emulator to do it, which is kind of odd, but I guess that was a feature of the jailbroken firmware. It, I guess, broke the emulation layer, so they just refitted one in and there's one more step to running the emulators. Yeah. At the moment, while there is still a legitimate way to download software for this, I don't consider it to be a great handheld. Do I regret buying it? No, because I like making videos about things like this. There aren't lots and lots of games. Not many of them are really worth significant money. As soon as the PlayStation store is shut down, I think it's fair game, and there's... It's worth it if you don't pay for the games. That's ultimately what I'm saying. Yeah, I said it already, but I'm just clarifying. If you're not going to pay for the games, it's worth the money. If you're going to pay for them, it's not really good value. That is a moral and ethical dilemma, which I will leave to you to decide what you think about that. For me, if I'm going to play anything significantly on here, I'm going to pay for it. Okay. Thank you for watching.
What do you mean, subscribe to his Patreon? I already paid for breakfast. What more does he want? What? Oh, seemed he wasn't invited. Oh, I suppose I could eat his as well.